So my wife and I, uh, depending on when this is heard, might not understand. We between the end of season 5 and whenever the hell season 6 is set to start. I think it's March. I don't fucking know. But regardless, in between those seasons, my wife and I have both begun and got caught up with Game of Thrones. So we kind of, I wouldn't say shotgun the whole thing, but we watched a lot of episodes consecutively. I was never a person who was sitting on the sidelines going, I really should watch that show. Nah, nah, I was never that guy. I was the guy who was just like, I saw one episode, I got bored, and they think I'm fucking stupid because they think that if I see a pair of boobs and some violence, that I'm just gonna be hooked when there's really little else here to hook me. Now, having gone through the entire thing, I adjust that. I will adjust that assessment. I think that I can honestly say without a shadow of a doubt that the show is not boring. But in a lot of the times, it's not boring because of things to its own detriment. And here's how I think as a whole, and I came to this analogy quickly, like maybe late season 1ish, early season 2, that window. And this is what I think of this series, and all the way up through 5, it has not changed my mind. Okay, I think of the series as such: you go to an art gallery, right, and you approach this big ass painting, and at the bottom the label says Game of Thrones, and your eye goes immediately to the center, and you're like, wow, because it's just this eye-popping, insane, beautiful looking piece, this art piece, just wonderful. And then you start to smell something, and you're like, what the fuck is that about? And then you widen your scope. You back up a little bit and you widen what you can see, so you can, see the whole picture. And then you realize that for some reason, there's human shit in the corners. And it's oddly fresh, and it reeks. It's terrible. And you're like, what the fuck? But then it's like, before I started watching this series, it was it was totally polarized. Like, people would either completely ignore the shit in the corners and just either act like it wasn't there, or act like it was just a part of it, or act like it was fucking acceptable to just have human shit in the corners of a painting. Or they said, there's shit in the corners of this painting. Fuck this whole painting. I don't give a shit about the art of this painting. I don't give a shit about the time that it took to make. There is shit in the corners. Fuck this whole thing. Alright? And first, in order to be, the analogy is positive at first. I'm going to be positive at first and going over the literal things that I love about this series without any kind of question or asterisk. And that would be the intro. The intro is one of the best damn things I've ever seen. The fact that it changes from season to season based on where is important. The type used is amazing. The music is stellar. The effect on the sun that basically you start and you end in the sun that shines over the entirety of the locations, and it's amazing. No complaints about that. The second thing I really like about the series is the fashion. The people that are there to look like shit definitely look like shit. There's no ifs, ands about that. But the people who are there to be stylish, damn, like they look fucking amazing. They are killing it on the fashion level. It's ridiculous. And yeah, that's about it. That's about all that I can, really praise about this show without saying but and then going into some whole other shit. So after 5 seasons worth, okay, first things first. Okay, the people who watched this show, as it was just coming on HBO and they, watched the episodes as they aired, I have to give you, like, if you did that from the beginning, I have to give you the utmost respect as far as your patience is concerned. Because these fuckers, okay, the very first episode is titled Winter is Coming. Okay? This shit went damn near 6 years before winter actually showed up. Like when we finished the first season, when we finished the very first season, I thought back on it, I'm like, where the fuck was the winter? And then it just became just this running gag between me and my wife eventually, where it's just like, yeah, I ain't seen a snowflake outside of the north. These motherfuckers been talking about winter is coming for damn years. Like, what the fuck? Like, it was so weird to me. I'm like, okay, the first season, no winter. I'm like, damn. Well, I guess it is only 10 episodes. Second season, no winter. I'm like, what, did they fucking forget? Like, did they just forget about the whole winter is coming thing? And then season 3, I hear them mention it. And I'm like, what the fuck? You still know? What the fuck are you people? What? There's still no... Really? There's still no... What? Motherfuckers going through puberty on this show. No winter. I'm like, how the fuck long does it take winter to show up? Like, what the fuck is this? What is this? And we got all the way to... I was like the middle of season 5. Like, if this season ends and I don't see winter, they're fucking lying. They're lying. They're full of shit. Winter is not coming. I wouldn't have even fucking said winter is coming this damn far out from winter when it ain't even came in fucking 5 years. It's ridiculous. But, that's one weird thing. But it really goes into my main problem with this show. And I'll explain that in a few. Another problem that I'm having is, well, You know what? Fuck it. We're just gonna go over my main problem right now. My main problem with this franchise, this series, is, to I'm sure no one's surprised, but it is the gross treatment of women in this series. When, like, we got dudes out here calling women dimes because they tens and all that shit. Women are actual dimes in Game of Thrones. Like, they're money. Like, you can walk up and pay a dude with a woman in this series. Women are treated like shit in this series. And it is so... It says a lot about our culture and our society that people, like, I guess people, like, this is what I mean when I'm talking about the shit in the corners. The shit in the corners is the treatment of women. And this is what I'm talking about as far as how it's being treated. People either don't fucking acknowledge that it happens. They just ignore it and act like it's just not even a fucking thing. They act like it's supposed to be there. Or they see the gross and just terrible treatment of women. And they just say, fuck this show. Like, they're just like, no, I'm fucking done. I'm fucking done. Y'all want to use chicks like cash. I'm out. And I understand those people. Like, this is seriously, this is the only show in my life, and I've watched a lot of television, I have never seen this much of a show without being able to recommend it to anyone. I wouldn't recommend anybody to watch Game of Thrones. I'm watching it, but my problem is that the highs don't outweigh the lows as far as how women are treated. It is nonsense. Like, just about every character that I have liked in the show, any character that I like, I kind of gotta half like, or I have to like with an asterisk, because there's some point where they treat women like shit, like it's just to be done. So it's like, I can't even fully like a Tyrion because of earlier shit that he's done in regards to women. And it, I mean, by the end of 5, it seems like they're kind of backing off, and they kind of give us more of a strong female presence in some ways, but there's always some type of asterisk to them. Like, Brienne was awesome when she first showed up, and then all of a sudden she's all like captured and almost raped and saved by a man. Like, why was that necessary for that? Like, the mutual respect thing that happens as a result of that is cool. It's cool, but it's like, it's fucked up that they felt that was a necessary thing to have happen. And here's my thing. I didn't read the books that this is based off of, so I don't know how much of this is them trying to stay faithful to the book. So, like, if they're staying completely faithful to the books, my criticism is to the books then. Like, if the same shit happened, like, whoever made the shit up, that's who I'm criticizing. But, like, the Brienne thing, and then, it turns around, it becomes this mutual respect thing, and that's cool, and I dig that. But then it's always that whole thing to where it's like she couldn't just be badass the whole time. Without rape being... Like, if she were being threatened to be murdered, then that's even. You know, like I don't know if there's an important character that hasn't been threatened murder. You know, but they don't all get threatened to get raped. You get me? So it's like that sort of thing. It's like any character, because like I want to like Jamie Lannister. I want to, but I can't. I can't because of the stuff that he's done and some of the things that he's about. I'm just like, I can't. Like, he does cool shit, and then I want to like him when he does the cool shit, but in my brain, I can't forget the fuck shit that he's done and said. You know? Like, it's tough to deal with this show because there are always things reminding me, like, oh, the fuck would they do? You know? And it seems, like I said, it seems to have gotten better and like eased up later in the series, except, you know, like they burned a girl alive. And like, here's my thing, okay? I think this is fucked up and incredibly uneven, okay? In a 2-episode time frame, all right, we basically linger on this girl and her pain and her suffering, and it's gut-wrenching, you know? But then when that debt is paid in the next episode, it's just a simple, like, they cut the shot away and just go away to a whole new scenario. Like, you get it. You know, so and that I've noticed that happens pretty often when some terrible shit is about to go down to a dude. On average, you know, there was the whole Reek thing, kind of drew that out. But on average, when a dude is meant to suffer, there are way more cutaways. When a woman is meant to suffer, you have to sit there and watch that shit happen. On average. And I'm just like, why? You know, like, we get it. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if they cut away visually, they won't cut away from the scene. They'll just focus on somebody's face who's looking at it happen, and then we just hear her screams. That rarely even happen. Like, that doesn't really happen when it's happening to dudes. Whatever happens to dudes is normally blunt, really quick, and if it is gonna be suffering, they just cut out. And I'm like, there is a real disconnect. Well, no, I'm sorry, not disconnect, but there's a real difference, like a large difference in how the genders are treated on this show. And I really don't understand. Like, I think it does say a lot about us because of how big this show has gotten without that being a mainline criticism. Like, using women as money is just insane. You know, like, they hold slaves in a higher regard than they do women in this show. Like, slaves can have pride. I've seen that. But whores cannot. They can't. You know, and then there's the whole dying thing that this show is famous for. Let me tell you something about Game of Thrones dying, quote unquote. Game of Thrones deaths are full of shit. And I'll explain why. What Game of Thrones does is fucking keep the conveyor belt moving. And what I mean by that is before or immediately after, and you just go back, and maybe I only noticed this because we basically marathoned the show, but immediately before or after major characters or side characters die, another character comes in that's fairly similar to replace them. To replace them in your feeling place, or they just weren't important anyway. Like they just weren't necessary anymore, so they're bringing in somebody else that you have no fucking idea who they are. And then they're important for a while, and then they die, and right before they brought in some other people. Like, it's not. I've watched basically every audio visual product that Joss Whedon has made except for maybe two. Okay? He kills a lot of motherfucking characters. The difference between what he does and what Game of Thrones does is when Joss kills somebody, oftentimes there's a hole left in that show or movie or etc. Like their presence not being there is like a void to you as the viewer. You're just like, oh shit, they're oh. But in Game of Thrones, when they kill somebody, there's another person. Like if you had to put them as like archetypes, there's another person that's filling that type now. And it has happened for damn near every death. And because of that, none of the deaths really affected me. Like they just died. And I'm like, oh, okay. But now I'm already following this dude. Like I don't need to follow them anymore because I got this dude over here who's basically doing the same damn thing, just in another place. Or, some shit like that. Like it doesn't feel like, even when they really like the girl who got burned, that hurt me because I'm a father. That kicked my ass because I'm a father. But when I actually thought about it logically after seeing it, I was like, her whole purpose was to just give Stannis humanity. Like, that's it. Like, the only reason she was there was to make you give a shit about Stannis and not look at him as like some type of fucking supervillain because he has a witch with him. Like, that's it. That was really her whole point in fucking being there. So it's like she died because it was Stannis showing his desperation. Like, that's another problem that goes back to the treatment of women thing. Like, in this show, more than I think any other that I've seen, women are used to advance men's stories. And for some of them, that's the entire point of the woman. There are some times where the man can fucking die. Just die. And the woman that he's with is still furthering his story because all it's about is the revenge or payback and all that shit. But then it's never really her story because she doesn't really have anything to do with anything. She's only there because a dude got killed. And it's not the entire show that does this. I do have some characters that I'm really behind, like Arya. Like, Arya is the shit to me. Arya Stark is one of the reasons I watch the show. And I think that a lot of that has to do with no one having really like pinned her down and threatened to rape her Like, rape is not a part of her story. Like, it's. I mean, I could be remembering wrong, but I think I would remember that if that were a thing. But her whole story has become about just, becoming this badass assassin and, dealing with shit, righting the wrongs that have been done to her family. I'm like, that's awesome. I still like Brienne. I don't hold the, I guess I could say, tropes used to further her story along. I don't hold those against the character. I still like the character. I like how she and her squire interact. I think that's fucking hilarious. I'm sure there are other things that I like too, but I'm just blanking because like we just finished the last episode on season 5. The people at the wall are fucking dumb. Like, for what they did, they were fucking dumb, but I understand at the same time because John never really explained to them the gravity of the shit that was going down. But at the same time, I think he didn't because they wouldn't have believed him. And they fucking wouldn't have. I know that. But I still think he should have tried. But, like, that whole setup and traitor and all that shit, whatever. Like, first of all, he's coming back. I don't know how. I don't know, but he's fucking coming back. Second of all, that whole winter finally showing up thing, if that lasts for years, then I think we're strolling into Attack on Titan level hopelessness. Because, like, what the fuck? Like, I'm just thinking from a logical standpoint, okay? There's no war that you can wage. Like, there's gonna have to be some type of just MacGuffin. I don't think I'm using that right. I don't know. But there's got to be some type of thing that you're just gonna whip out of nowhere to stop this shit from happening. Because there's no way you can win a war like that. Because in a war against this person, like this opposition, there are no acceptable losses. Because any loss that you get, you like, that's automatically a soldier for their side. There's no way to win that. Like, if you go at this like a typical war, you're expecting, okay, we need to kill more of them than they kill of us. But if they kill you at all, they get stronger. Like, literally get stronger. So I don't see any way, if that goes on for years, I don't see any way of them surviving that. But I ain't read the books. I don't know how far that shit's going. I don't know. But, like, as a whole, as I said, it's a show that I am watching that I simply cannot recommend to people. And that's really a shame. Because a lot of it's very well, it's got a very high production value, and I see that, but I'm like, and then at the same time, it's like when I recommend a show, it feels like I am endorsing what happens. And I've endorsed some pretty heinous shit. Pretty fucked up shit. But as far as like that goes, using women as currency, just beating on them for nothing, just showing their bodies like their bodies are just useless, calling them the worst of names with no purpose behind it other than to agitate. Like, even what was bothering me a lot was even scenes that didn't have women in them. It was like they went out of their way to try to tell me that women ain't shit just by having dudes talk about women. And I was just like, y'all are really trying to alienate your viewers for no fucking reason. You know, and I already understand. I know. I know. Well, people, if every time I brought this up, every time in any type of fantasy genre shit that I bring this up, I get the same damn criticism on what I'm saying. And that criticism is, well, you know, that's how the times were. And I just got to stare at them. I'm like, so let me get this straight. Okay? Dragons weren't a part of history. Especially fire-breathing ones. Especially ones that hatched from eggs after you burned somebody's corpse. Nah, those weren't a part of history. White Walkers, not a part of history. I'm pretty sure that a lot of the fashion that is used in the game was also not in the game. In the show, were also not fashions that were actually worn by actual people. So I'm pretty sure, but I mean, I could be wrong there. Not wrong about those other ones. Could be wrong on that one. Also, there weren't giants who rode mammoths and used bows that were as tall as about a small house and shot people through roofs. Didn't happen back in the day. That wasn't a thing. What else? Oh yeah, gigantic walls separating the north from the south of the planet. No, that wasn't a thing. You know, big walls made out of ice, all that shit. Nope. All of these things, except maybe the fashion. And there's also the fact, winter, which is a season in a year, in reality, takes years in this show to pass. So let me get this straight. You can make up all of that shit I was talking about, barring the clothes. You can make up weather. And the way weather works. You can make up dragons. You can make up eggs with spikes in them. You can make up giants riding mammoths. You can make up all of this shit. All that, cool. But you can't invent respect for women. That's not something that's too far. That's ridiculous. You can't make up not using women to pay for shit. A whole woman. Not a woman's services necessarily. A whole fucking woman. Just here. Like, you couldn't make up not doing that. In what way is the plot better when women are being treated like this? I don't see any way that this makes the story better. If it did, I would acknowledge that. It'd be really sad, but I would acknowledge that. But it doesn't. It doesn't do shit like that. I think that's a lot of where my problem comes from with it, is that it's just there because people have deemed it necessary to fucking be there. And it isn't. All of the intrigue and the insanity that starts in this show and that happens and that is, crazy, and all of the backstabbing and all that shit, you don't need women to be treated like that in order for this to happen. In fact, it'd probably make your story a lot more succinct if we didn't have to go to whorehouses as often as we did in the first season. You know what they could have had instead? Fucking bars. That would have done it. It would have been the same damn thing. And instead of the, like the really, really high ranked whores, they could have been the barkeeps and had the same damn story. Like, I'm not saying change your story. I'm just saying, like, shit, man, why do you have to make it a point to fucking try to convince me that women are terrible and are fucking trash throughout most of this damn series? And, it's insane. It is insane. Just as I was watching, I was just sitting there and I was just like I shut the fuck up. When my wife and I were watching, I was not that asshole who was sitting on the side of her going, look at what the fuck they're doing. Like, no, I didn't even do that. I didn't say shit to my wife about it until I was asked. She watched, like, how many did we watch the first day? Probably like 3-4 episodes, something like that. And she watched the whole thing and she didn't see it that way. She was the latest person to use the whole that was just a sign of the times thing argument with me. And then I brought up dragons. And she was like, well, that's a point. And then from that point on, she started seeing the show differently. Like, like she would bring it up like, man, they really are. And I just sat over there. I didn't say shit. I might have, shook my head on occasion because it really gets ridiculous. But, like, it's not that hard to see. They're not hiding it. So I just wonder, because I know women who are super gung-ho about Game of Thrones, and I'm like, what the fuck? Are you just choosing to not care? Or do you accept this as, like, normal? Because, I mean, in our society, women ain't treated as well as they should be. That's pretty clear. There are a lot of women in this world who don't deserve to be treated well because they do fucked up shit. Same way I would say there's a lot of men who don't deserve to be treated well because they do some fucked up shit. I am not saying that every woman needs to be, fucking hailed as a goddess because she has a vagina. That's bullshit. There are women who throw their babies in the trash. Fuck them. But as far as this is concerned, it's like the show is trying to tell me that just them having a vagina makes them lesser. And as feminist as I am, that is never going to sit well with me. I am never going to be able to, get all hyped about this show like I could, say, a Leverage or like shit. Even like 24 killed a lot of motherfuckers. I was hyped on 24 because, man, they not only had some powerful female heroines, they had powerful female villains, and they were fucking awesome. Women were not treated like second class anything. it was a fucked up thing how everybody who Jack even kind of dated got killed, but I would kind of expect that with the hurricane of death that is Jack Bauer. But that's a whole other talk for a whole other talking shit. But on this show, I'm just like, man. And it's like they're just constantly just bringing it down on me. Bringing it to bam, bam. Like, fuck them. Like, I'm just like, man, they got songs written about women ain't shit. They got fucking dudes sitting around fucking tables just talking about women ain't shit. Motherfuckers walking through the forest talking about you ain't even a man till you done fucked a girl. No, they don't even say girl. Till you done fucked a whore from every fucking every one of the 7 kingdoms or whatever the fuck they call them. Like, really? There aren't even women here and you're fucking saying this? Like, really? Come on, man. Like, nobody, like, and you would think that would be, you know, oh, well, he's a grunt. He don't know shit. The people with class treat women like shit. Terribly. I'm like, okay. Okay with this show. Okay. All right. And then, you know, there's the whole thing to where it's like, if you try to do the right thing, you get fucked. Everybody ever who tries to do the right thing all the time on this show gets fucked. At some point, be it literally or figuratively, at some point they all get fucked. And it's just, you know, you can be a villain for however the fuck long and not get fucked. Like, there are villains on the show who have been alive since the first season and ain't been fucked. Ain't been hurt or anything. Though Cersei, damn, like, it would make sense on a show like this to where if a woman was in power for that long and was shitty to dudes for that long and shitty to, dare I say, subservient women for that long, that she would get a punishment on that level that takes that long. You trying to tell me that if that was a dude who had to take that what the hell was it called? Something walk. That guilty walk, or whatever the fuck it was called. If there was a dude who had to take that walk, you trying to tell me that they wouldn't have cut away? They would have cut that shit out. What they would have done was they would have started the walk, then they would have cut to the middle where they looked like shit and they was getting apples and shit thrown at them. Then they would have cut to the end, or no, I'm sorry, they would have cut to the point where they collapsed because their feet were fucked. Then they would have cut to the end when they were going in the thing. The whole thing wouldn't have even taken half the time. It wouldn't have taken half as long as it took Cersei to make, because they showed that whole walk. It wasn't a oneer. It wasn't a oneer. It wasn't a one continuous shot, but damn it, it could have been. They showed that whole walk. I was like, there ain't no way they'd have done that shit if that was a dude. Ain't no way in hell. Ain't no way that would have happened. Shit. The dude who confessed and did all that shit, you don't even see him until all that shit done already happened to him. And he just comes out like this monk. They don't even fucking say that he had to do that. Well, I mean, they might say it verbally and I just forgot, but they don't show it at all. They don't show the preparation for it. They don't even do the cuts. It's just not fucking there. And I'm just like, okay, but we got to see Cersei go through that. I mean, you know, like, alright, this is going to sound weird. This is going to sound really, really weird, and I get it, because she is a douche. But I love Cersei Lannister. But I love her from the standpoint of being a writer and a character, like just a person who makes characters. Cersei is brilliant to me because she can't even refrain from that look that she gives people that she fucking hates. Like, if she, like, I remember one time, at least one time, she was talking to Tyrion, and Tyrion just said some shit that was just like, like, he got her, like, he stung her for real, and she would look at him, and my wife didn't know. I don't think most of the population knows what was going on. I know what was going on. Here's what Cersei does, and here's why I love Cersei. When Cersei looks at people like that, she is plotting. Not even plotting. She is imagining in her brain multiple ways on how to kill them. But she can't do that in her free time. She can't do that leisurely. She has to do it exactly at the point where you said your shit. She's like, she just fucking looks at you like, I could stab you in the neck. I could hang you by your damn belt. I could punch you until I get tired. I could put my foot in your eye. Like, and it's like she goes through those, and then she calculates something to say, and then she says something else. And like every time I would see her do one of those looks, and she does it so often, it's amazing. It's wonderful to see a character like that. It's amazing. And she even almost confirmed it, to me at least, when she said something about imagining ways to kill somebody. Like she said it in, I believe, the last episode or close to the last episode. They kind of blur together, but she said something along those lines. I'm like, yeah, you do that when you stare at these motherfuckers who've wronged you and said shit. Yes, you do that, and I noticed that you do that, and it's fucking hilarious. But yeah, but even, I can't even love Cersei without an asterisk. I just love that element of her. Because I know that's exactly what she's doing. Like, she is daydreaming about killing these motherfuckers. Just murdering the shit out of them. Having them stabbed by soldiers. All kinds of shit. Oh, it's fucking, it's great. Pardon me. Damn. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, you get how I feel about this series by now, and I'm gonna stop all this rambling. It's just, I like the direction it seems to be going in, to where it's not reminding me of, how much women suck every fucking 2 minutes. They seem to have let up on that, and it seems like the show is maybe maturing. I'll see. I'll be watching, because my wife will be watching. But yeah, I hope it gets better with that. I hope things turn around, and I hope that there's a point where I can be like, oh, this is cool. This is cool now. This is not, being all fucked up anymore. It's kind of like Star Wars in a lot of ways. But anywho, yeah, if you sat through this, you're awesome. Thank you for listening to this rambling and me going on about this series, this very, very, very highly beloved series. Yeah, just thanks and I will inevitably catch you next time.